Hello, my name is Deja Lewis,
Hello,
and my collaborators
my
on
name
this
is
project
Deja Lewis,
are Brianna
and my
Lacewell,
collaborators on this
Ashley
project
Mattia, and
are
Chastity
Brianna
Martin.
Lacewell, Ashley
For our
Mattia,
group
and
presentation,
Chastity.
we will be discussing our findings on the Eskimo culture and the health problems they face due to nutritional anemia. Hello. Eskimo is actually a term used to generally describe all subgroups that have originated from eastern Siberia. Archaeologists believe that the ancestors of the Eskimos came across the Bering Strait from Asia about 30,000 years ago. Eskimo is inclusive of two main groups, the Yupik and Inuit. Today, the Inuit Eskimos of Alaska inhabit the northernmost part of the state, and the Yupik reside in central and western Alaska. The Inuit are the native cultures that continue to live on coastal areas of Arctic tundra in Canada, Alaska, Siberia, and Greenland. As of the 2011 U.S. Census, the Yupik population in the U.S. numbered over 24,000, of whom were over 22,000 lived in Alaska. As for the Inuits, there are a total of 16,581 living throughout the country, with the majority of about 14,718 living in the state of Alaska. Eskimo is actually a term. Traditionally, Eskimo religious practices were based on the belief of shamanism. By definition of Merriam-Webster, shamanism is a religion practiced by indigenous peoples of far northern Europe and Siberia that is characterized by belief in an unseen world of gods, demons, and ancestral spirits. Eskimos believed the individual was composed of three parts: body, soul, and name, and that all of these parts work together as a whole. The shaman was the ultimate healer and spiritual reader. He encompassed the ability to influence the spiritual world so that the group would be blessed with good health. No matter if the shaman failed to maintain the health in the community, he was still revered. Beginning in 1883, missionaries began to convert the Alaskan Native population to Christianity. Medical missionaries from the West, who were traveling to aid the Eskimos in health care, were able to influence the Eskimos by use of advanced medicine to convert to Christianity, which is now the primary religion among most Eskimos. Politically speaking, it was up to the entire community to maintain peace and order. Community elders would be consulted to give example of how certain situations were handled in the past to make a decision regarding present affairs. The family became the primary source of structure in Eskimo society. Traditionally, until recently, physicians were obligated to travel to the villages at least once per year to provide medical care. Also, the state of Alaska provides preventative health services by means of public health nurses who travel to each village at least once a year and as needed. In addition to the health maintenance tactics of traveling nurses and physicians, Eskimos also use their environment and natural resources as a means of preventative care. The Alaskan seal is used to prevent depression, weakness, malaise, which is believed to be a disease of the soul, and to prevent frostbite. Consumed by either drinking the mammal's blood or eating the flesh of the animal, seals are believed to restore body warmth and increase endurance for men who were hunters for their trips home. Women ate and drank seal blood for strength to bear children and resist depression. Until recently,
Traditionally, men and women have very defined roles. The needles that people within the Eskimo with nature and hunting, and they were happy. Strive for a solid system that recognizes and governing activities themselves, including their mission. But in reality, in behavior, some of them are very much in tradition and harmony. His role as a provider was to harmony as much as possible from the people were satisfied with their family lives of their technology, but that can continue to be their woman on the other hand had a learn spiritual values mother and also in other days. This included child rearing, consequences, garment making, tutoring, have years, up to the 20th century, and survival continued. The man's success as a hunter was just as much her responsibility, which had been made up a team, complemented one another, and were very much equal in education, economic, social, and religious institutes. This allows the Eskimo infrastructure to expand out from the village to the institutions and different native corporations such as schools and churches. It's mainly one of the high reasons why only 29.8% of most Eskimo people between the ages of 25 and 64 currently don't have a high school diploma. This relates greatly to how much money they're bringing in. Compared to other cultures in Canada and surrounding areas, they make about 12 cents less per hour. Eskimo people ranging from 35 to 44, they're more likely to have a high school diploma, but still only at 68% compared to others around in the surrounding areas. These figures are significantly lower in the same age categories. 88% compared to only 79% of Eskimo people have a high school diploma. Research has found that educational attainment rates and income are directly related. The overall health within the Eskimo culture has improved in recent years. However, it still continues to lag behind the overall population. In 2009, the life expectancy for women ranged around 83 years, and for a man, it ranged around 79 years. The leading causes of death were external causes: accidental poisonings, vehicle accidents, or intentional self-harm. Diseases of the circulatory system, hypertension, cardiovascular, different types of cancer were much lower than the suicide rates. Within the Eskimo culture, for some time, the suicide rates have been much higher than those of the general population. Studies have found that that's the leading causes of death among people below 45 years of age. It's thought that the Eskimo culture contributes highly to the suicide rate for many of the reasons, including depression due to social, culture, generational dislocation, drug and substance abuse, lack of housing, food, or access to any opportunities. In smaller communities, youth suicides may be particularly traumatic and may lead to some suicide clusters. Now, improved water and sewage facilities are at least partly responsible for a drop in the infant mortality rate and an increase in general health. Improvements in the Eskimo culture are also due to better control of infection disease, improved living conditions, and better access to medical technology and services. Let's remind ourselves why iron is important. Essential component of hemoglobin and myoglobin, a component of certain proteins important for respiration and energy metabolism, component in enzymes involved in the synthesis of collagen and some neurotransmitters, and essential for normal immune function. And too much iron is bad. It generates a lot of free radicals, which can oxidize and damage cells. Iron absorption, only 10% of dietary iron is absorbed. It really depends on your dietary iron content. The bioavailability, which is your hemi and your non-hemi, whether it comes from a meat source or a plant source. Most of your iron absorption happens in the duodenum. 30 to 50% of our diet comes from the hemi, the meat iron sources. 10% is generally from other sources such as ferrous sulfate, often can be enhanced by red meat, ascorbic acid, breast milk. Absorption can be diminished by vegetable fiber, cow milk, egg yolk, teas, and phosphates. which is in sodas. Anemia. It seems to be a direct result of a nutritional deficiency resulting from iron-poor food choices. For many of the Eskimos that live along rivers, there's a tendency to have a diet high in fish and to store items that are relatively iron-poor. A typical meal includes fish soup, pilot bread, named because it was originally brought in by pilots with shortening, and sugared black tea. Even preschoolers drink the black tea. It's believed that the tannic acid in the tea interferes with iron absorption. Thus, the diet may be iron poor and include an agent, tannic acid, that prohibits absorption. Although studies have confirmed the prevalence of nutritional iron deficiency and anemia in Eskimo culture, there's other factors that have come into light. Other factors include studies that have shown an increased concentration of heme in the stool. To have a diet high in fish. They show that it could be a result of fecal loss rather than inadequate intake. A typical meal includes fish soup. Studies have also shown there's a higher prevalence of Helicobacter pylori, which has been known to decrease the amount of available iron in the body. Even preschoolers drink the black tea. It's believed that the tannic acid in the tea interferes with iron absorption. Thus, the diet may be iron poor and include an agent, tannic acid, that prohibits absorption. The social economic environment of a population is a strong predictor of health status. Poverty, low educational attainment, and unemployment can all adversely affect health outcomes, in part by influencing personal health choices and practices. It's been shown that there's an abundance of Eskimo people with nutritional iron deficiency. Many of these deficiencies can correlate with infections, immune function among infants. Native children have been associated with the occurrence of respiratory infections. Now, not that anemia is causing the infection, but mostly infection is associated with low hemoglobin levels.
This slide will talk about cultural factors affecting healthcare, gender roles, expectations, and its relation to the environment. The division of labor in the traditional society had a strong gender component, but it was not absolute. The men were traditionally hunters and fishermen. The women took care of the children, cleaned nuts, sewed, processed food, and cooked. However, there are numerous examples of women who hunted out of necessity or as a personal choice. The use of traditional medication of animal substances has been proved necessary and effective in their inhospitable land. The body is seen by the Eskimos to be in close relation with various domains comprising of interpersonal relationships, connections to the environment, and the relations to the deceased and spirits. The Eskimos also believe that the illnesses should be excreted from the body in order for a person to recover. Thus, some of the traditional healing treatments that they administer are used to help the sick person excrete things out of their body. This slide will talk about cultural factors affecting health. In this slide, I'll talk about the interconnections between non-Western cultures and Western cultures. The United States relies heavy on trade from other countries. Most of our manufactured goods are important for many different countries. Most of our goods that are made in the United States, some of them can be imported to other countries, like Asia, Canada, South America. The nation's international trade deficit in goods and services increased to 47.1 billion in February from 45.9 billion in January, as imports increased more than exports. According to the estimates from the 2013 ACS, the U.S. immigrant population stood at more than 41.3 million, or 13% of the total U.S. population of 316.1 million. Between 2012 and 2013, the foreign born population increased by about 523,000, or 1.3%. So, as you can see, we have a lot of people in our country that are from all over the world. A lot of people immigrate and migrate to the United States. And that's great because it creates a melting pot of new foods, new cultures, new customs, and it let us be able to learn and see how other people are. In this slide, I'll talk about the interconnections between non-Western cultures and Western cultures. The United States relies heavy on trade from. In this slide, we'll talk about health-related issues as it relates to their culture. Eskimos' medicine consists of a lot of experimentation to see what is effective and what could be used to treat their illnesses. Every treatment and cure is seen as an experiment whereby the effectiveness of this traditional illness is validated by their recovery and health. Although this healing practice consists of a lot of experiments, the fundamentals of the Eskimos' traditional medicine is passed down orally from one generation to the other. The Eskimos choose their diet based on four concepts: the relationship between animals and humans, and the relationship between the body and the soul, life and health, the relationship between seal blood and the Eskimos' blood, and the diet of choice. Eskimos are especially spiritual when it comes to the customs of hunting, cooking, and eating. The Eskimos believe that the combination of animal and human blood in one bloodstream creates a healthy human body and soul. In this slide, we'll talk about health related.